Hey guys, in today's episode we're gonna fix a new issue which was discovered recently. Front left side tire abnormal wear. The other side looks much better. This happens when the wheels are not aligned, and they get misaligned because of the failed bushings and ball joints. We have decided to replace all of the front bushings and ball joints and make wheel alignment afterwards. The job was not that difficult, took only several hours, special tools were required. We're gonna replace these items on both sides. Steering rod ends, swivel joints, front bushings, and the rear bushings together with aluminum mounting brackets. And all of the old bolts and nuts. In order to replace the swivel joints, we will have to remove the drive shafts from the bearing housing. It is easier than you think. Let's dive into the job. While the car is on the ground, loosen the drive shaft bolt. Do not turn the bolt more than 90 degrees to prevent bearing damage by the car's weight. Now leave the car and remove the wheels. Remove the splash guard. Treat all bolts with WD-40. Let's replace the steering rod end first. Undo the nut. I will use my ball joint press for this job. Don't completely remove the nut while pressing out the ball joint, otherwise this will happen. To break loose the holding nut, you need to counterhold the tie rod with another spanner. Now unscrew the tie rod end. Screw in the new rod and torque down the rod nut and the ball joint nut to the spec. Use new nuts. Manual requires you to unscrew ball joint nut again by turning it 180 degrees and then torque it down to the spec again. The other side came out quite easily. Now let's replace the swivel joints. Undo 3 nuts and remove the suspension link. Unscrew the shaft bolt and pull out the bearing housing from the shaft. Hand power should be enough, otherwise you would need a special tool set. Break loose the swivel joint nut using a long breaker bar. I have decided also to remove the suspension link to have more room. I will use my ball joint pressing tool as well on this nut. It fits well. To unscrew the nut, you need to counterhold the ball joint with a Torx bit. Unscrew the nut and remove ball joint. And tighten the nut first and then use the torque wrench 20 Newton meters. Now turn the nut 90 degrees. That's it. Mount back the drive shaft and screw in a new bolt. This should be replaced as per manual. Hand tighten the nut as far as possible. Now use a second person to press in the brake pedal, or use a stick like I did. We will have to tighten the shaft bolt in two steps, firstly using the torque wrench and then the angle. There are different torquing figures depending on which type of bolt you will get from the dealer. Bolt could be ripped or flat, like on this schematic. Torquing specs as follows. We've got the flat bolts version, so we will have to apply a ton of force. Firstly 200 Newton meters and then 180 degree angle. Sorry for the bad camera angle. My garage is full of wood, so I have difficulties with filming. Now it is time to do the bushings. Firstly, remove the rear bushing from the suspension link. Use the jaw puller tool in case you have difficulties. Clean the finger with file. Look at those rear bushings. Both of them were dead, and according to the markings, they were original, 5 years old and had 60,000 kilometers on them. You can buy those bushings separately from the mounting brackets. Price is around 5 euros, but I've decided to buy the complete units to minimize the chances of a failed repair. They cost around 15 euros each. I bought a big bushing press tool set. It works pretty easy, especially if you have a pneumatic or electric wrench. The cup where the bushing is going to be pressed out should be bigger in diameter than the bushing. On the other side, select a cup which is a bit smaller than the bushing. Just use a spanner or a tool to press it out. Same process is to press it in. Just use some lubrication, like Vaseline. Manual requires special oil. Now it is only remaining to replace the small front bushings. As you can see, the inner sleeve is not centered. One of them was okay, and the other one failed. It should be exactly in the middle, as on this schematic. Same pressing technique is used here. I didn't get a good camera angle here as well. Important thing here is to observe that the sleeve would be centered. Mount the rear bushing into the suspension link using a bit of Vaseline. Now let's install the suspension link back in place. Replace all of the bolts with new. There is a new bolt and nut kit. Remember how rusty the old ones were? They could easily snap in case reused. Install the suspension link and slide the rear bushing back and forth to match the bolt holes. Slightly tighten the front bushing bolt. We will torque it down to the spec when the car will be on the ground. This is done to prevent the bushing from twisting and premature failure. We can torque down the rear bushing bracket. There will be two steps again. Firstly, torque and then the angle. Torquing techniques as follow below. Now torque down the nuts. remaining only one important step. Mount the wheels, torque them down to 120 Newton meters and lower the car on the ground. It is only now remaining to torque down the front bushing bolts, firstly with 70 Newton meters and then 180-degree angle. As I've said, this is done on the ground to prevent the bushings from premature twisting wear. Basically, the job is done. You should do a wheel alignment straight after. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.